Right or wrong? Fact versus value judgments in everyday language ***. In English, much like in Chinese, the word right can mean two very different things. It can mean this is objectively true, or it can mean this is how things ought to be. The first is a factual judgment. The second is a value judgment. While they sound similar, mistaking one for the other can lead to confusion or even heated arguments over dinner. This essay dives into this subtle but crucial distinction, weaving in formal logic, real-life examples, and a touch of humor. Buckle up, logic nerds. Let's unravel truth, belief, and a good deal of misunderstanding. #### Part 1. What is a fact? A fact is something that has happened and can be confirmed by observation. The sun set in Los Angeles yesterday is a fact. But the sun will rise tomorrow isn't a fact yet. It's a prediction based on inductive reasoning. Our belief that what happened repeatedly in the past is likely to continue. Now, is it necessary to distinguish between what has happened and what we expect to happen? Yes, absolutely. If we want to speak clearly and avoid sounding like someone who thinks they can see the future with 100% certainty. Let's talk about truth for a moment. There are two kinds. 1. Absolute truth, always true, no exceptions. Hard to find. 2. Inductive truth, true because it's always been true so far. Like, the sun rises every morning, until one day it doesn't. So here's a working definition of a strong truth, something that was, is, and will be true across time. Unfortunately, that's rarely the kind of truth we deal with in daily life or science. Most truths we rely on are inductive, repeatable, probable, but always vulnerable to exception. Two useful categories of facts. Isolated facts, specific events like you spilled coffee on your shirt this morning. Inductive facts, generalizations from repeated observations like coffee stains are annoying. To judge something as factually right, it must be 1. A confirmed event, or 2. A generalization reliably supported by past experience. ### Part 2. What is a value? Value judgments are based not on what is, but on what ought to be. They come from principles, beliefs, ethics, and let's be honest, personal bias. In Western moral philosophy, Adam Smith's theory of moral sentiments laid out one idea: empathy. If you want kindness, give kindness. If you expect fairness, practice it. Value systems vary. What's right in one culture may be totally off in another. In New York, tipping is expected. In Tokyo, it's weird. In Texas, calling someone sir is respect. In California, it might sound a bit formal. But here's the kicker. We do have a kind of shared human compass, and it's called perspective taking. If I were in their shoes, what would I do? This can help us build cross-cultural or even cross-political understanding. So how do we define whether something is right in a value system? It aligns with our personal principles, or it makes sense after we've truly considered someone else's position empathetically. Note, those two things don't always point in the same direction. That's where sociology, criminal law, and politics come in. ### Part 3. So how do we judge? Let's get logical for a second. A judgment is when we assign a value or truth status to something based on some kind of matching rule. Let's say Q equals the thing we're judging. P equals the evidence. We say P proves Q if applying our logic system gives us a clear result. That works in mathematics. Either Q is true or it's not. Simple. But with values, it's messy, eh? Judgments can be right, kind of right, a little off, totally off the wall, which means that saying something is not right might mean not entirely accurate or morally questionable, depending on context. ### Part 4. Double trouble when right means two things. Let's say your friend is hosting a dinner party. You can't make it because of a family emergency. You text them to explain. They're hurt and suspicious. Why? Because you two have some personal rivalry. They interpret your absence not as a factual thing, he had to leave town, but as a value-laden slight, he doesn't care about me. Suddenly, a neutral explanation turns into a drama. This is what happens when we confuse factual disagreement with value conflict. In English, you're wrong can mean you're factually mistaken, or I disagree with your moral compass. Very different meanings. Same phrase. Trouble. #### part 5. The not so humble not. English speakers often lump not and no together. But there's a subtle but important difference. No often negates a feature. No parking. No shoes. Not usually negates a statement. That's not true. That's not helpful. Let's play with an example. Person A. The apple falls because of Newton's law of gravity. Person B. That's not quite right. According to general relativity, the apple's mass curves space-time, and you get the idea. Here, not right doesn't mean wrong. It means incomplete from a more precise framework. Newton is good enough for real life. Einstein is good enough for GPS satellites. This is what Hegel would call negation of the negation, refining ideas until they get better and better. It's not a contradiction, it's an upgrade. #### part 6. Semantics isn't just for nerds. People love to make fun of semantics. Oh, you're nitpicking. But semantics is about meaning. And meaning is everything. Let's borrow from engineering. You buy a new electric car. It has a fancy lithium-ion battery. You're excited until it explodes. Why? Because someone forgot to account for how the battery's charge distributes after a collision. Tiny oversight. Big consequences. Moral? Details matter. Systems matter. And clear language is part of a well-designed system. When we analyze language carefully, we're not being pedantic. We're practicing verbal engineering. It's how we avoid logical crashes. #### part 7. Two kinds of not an argument. 1. Denying the statement. That's not true. 2. Denying the foundation. Your premise is flawed. Example. Mike, we can calculate satellite paths using Newton's law. Jake, nope. For high-precision orbits, you need post-Newtonian corrections. Jake isn't saying Newton is wrong. He's saying Newton is not enough. This is crucial. Most arguments are not about opposing conclusions. They're about incompatible foundations. #### part 8. Context is everything. Let's say someone says, that's not right. Do they mean, you're wrong? You're missing something? You offended me? Without context, it's impossible to know. This is where contextualism comes in. Every sentence lives in a situation. Pull out of that situation, and boom, misinterpretation city. In debate, in relationships, even in politics, context blindness is deadly. People argue past each other because they're not talking about the same thing, even though it sounds like they are. #### final thoughts. Truth, clarity, and better conversations. We all want to be right. But what kind of right are we chasing? The kind based on observed reality? Fact. The kind based on how the world should be? Value. There's nothing wrong with either, as long as we know which one we're using. Confusing the two turns clarity into chaos. And you're not right turns into you're the enemy. So next time someone says that's not right, pause. Ask, do you mean factually? Or are we talking about values? That one question can save friendships, solve arguments, and maybe, just maybe, help you win an internet debate without a flame war. And if you're still unsure what's true, just remember, logic helps. Empathy helps more. Context is king.